Hey everyone, it's Alicia, and welcome back to the Eat Me podcast. First of all, I just want to, say, apologize for last Monday's episode that didn't air. I didn't have an episode last week. It was so much going on. I was helping with a baby shower with a friend of mine, getting that all set up, and we had a wonderful time. It was a great shower. It was just filled with love. It was very beautiful, but I was exhausted. So, please accept my apologies for not having the episode last week, but here we are. We're back. Happy March. Can you believe it's March? I can't believe it, but here we are. And listen, for some of you, you may know that March is MS Awareness Month. I happen to have MS. And if you've been following the podcast, you know that I've talked about it, several times here on the podcast, me having multiple sclerosis. And it's wild that this month, I've been really posting a lot on my social media, particularly TikTok. I have a new account on TikTok. So I have two accounts on TikTok. One is just like my personal account where I just kind of do my thing and I post things about the podcast and things of that nature. But my other um what do you call it? Oh my gosh, I'm blanking out. My other account, hello, my other account on TikTok is where I promote my actual program that helps people with MS increase their energy levels. And so I have been posting a lot on that actual account, the TikTok account for those who do have MS and want to know more information and for how I can help them with, increasing their energy levels. If you want to follow me on either platform, my MS health coaching platform, my name is Dr. Alicia Christian. And then my traditional TikTok platform where it's just being me is Leash. You can find me as Leash on TikTok. So follow either one. But on the Dr. Alicia Christian platform, I have been sharing a lot about my actual journey with MS and how I have been doing this without taking any medication. And it's very interesting to hear people, get the feedback that I've been getting from so many people, which has been beautiful to, hear them talk about their experiences and, how their journey is going with multiple sclerosis. And, I'm just so happy to be helping people along their journey to one, increase their energy levels, but also hold space for them and let them know that there's support out here and that they're not on this journey alone. So it's been, a real blessing to, connect with people all over. It's just been a blessing, basically. It's just been really, really wonderful. But I wanted to, continue on talking about multiple sclerosis, particularly this month, because I think a lot of people don't realize, or maybe, a lot of people just don't even know because it's just not a part of their fabric. I mean, if unless you're really involved with multiple sclerosis, research or, whatever, it's just not something that you're thinking about. And, rightfully so. Like everyone has their things they have to think about and do and, whatever else. But when I was diagnosed technically in 2010. I was diagnosed in 2010, and from there, it's been a journey. I'm just trying to figure out how to navigate this actual diagnosis, how I'm going to approach my, health and wellness as it relates to this diagnosis, and how I defined myself moving forward, knowing that that was a part of, who I am, uh, you know, moving forward. Like I was like, okay, this is something that I have to figure out how to work with and know that it's not going to take over my whole life. And I'm going to find a way to, still live and be happy and thrive and not allow this actual disease to just, take me under, if that makes any sense. So it's been a journey, like I said, but what's been really eye-opening, particularly now that I've been reaching out to more people to help them through their MS journey as well, is realizing how many Black women have been diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. And when I was first diagnosed in 2010, a lot of people were saying, like, a lot of, we didn't know that Black people, particularly Black women, got this disease because we've always known it to be a Caucasian, particularly female-based disease. It just never was something that you thought of in the Black community. And so when I was diagnosed and people heard this, they were just like, "What? Oh, okay." I mean, I knew I had family um, that had the disease, but it was only like one person that I knew about. So it was just kind of like an anomaly. And especially it was in the 80s. So it was just like, whoa, like what? So there was that, but just thinking this was just a one off, right? But then I get my diagnosis and it was like, oh, okay, this is not a one off. I also have this disease. Wait, so I got a little bit of fuzz here on my mic here. Y'all, this is the second time. What is that? God bless. Anyway, so it wasn't a one off, right? And, I didn't really reach out to people in the way that I should have to just find community and build community at the time, because at the time that I was diagnosed, I was really in a space of just trying to survive, if that makes sense. I was really blessed because I actually had a family friend also who was diagnosed. My sister told me about her, and then she and I connected, and she helped me figure out some things health wise with how I was going to manage my multiple sclerosis. So that was, with myself included, those were three people that I knew right then and there in my circle that were diagnosed with MS. Two other, and these are two other Black women, but it still just didn't click in my head that these three women, including myself, obviously, that it was a domino effect with this. There were other women out there that were also experiencing multiple sclerosis. And you saw things like Montel Williams. Okay, he had multiple sclerosis. Richard Pryor was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. But for me at the time, it was me trying to put those pieces together. It just wasn't all connecting for me, at least. It was just like, oh, these are just one offs, another one off, another one off. And now we're seeing more than ever that it's much more within the Black community than not. And I wanted to raise awareness around that, and just let people know that sometimes, you go to the doctor, and even up until now, you might be misdiagnosed with something, or people are just kind of like blowing you off because they don't think as multiple sclerosis as something that Black people would actually get. And it's interesting. I found an article from the National Library of Medicine, and it's a really interesting article. So it's called Experiences of African American Women with Multiple Sclerosis. And for those of you who may not know what, multiple sclerosis is, let me give you, basically a definition of what multiple sclerosis is, because I just don't want us out here just like randomly like, what? Right? So for those of us that just need to kind of get an idea of what MS is, here is what it is. So multiple sclerosis, okay, is a chronic neurological disorder. It is an autoimmune disorder, meaning that MS in the immune system, which normally protects us from viruses, bacteria, and other threats, mistakenly attacks healthy cells. MS symptoms usually begin in young adults between the ages of 20 and 40. MS affects people differently. A small number of people with MS will have mild symptoms with little disability, whereas others will experience worsening symptoms that will lead to increased disability over time. People with MS, or most people with MS, I should say, have short periods of symptoms that resolve fully or partially after they appear. These periods are followed by long stretches without noticeable symptoms. Most people with MS have a normal life expectancy. So that's kind of like a breakdown of what MS is. But back to the ideas around Black women having this disease, and the prevalence of Black women, it was really eye-opening for me, right? And so in this article that was titled, and I'll share it in the show notes, Experiences of African American Women with Multiple Sclerosis, it says, despite growing understanding that African American patients may have a more aggressive course of multiple sclerosis and experience disparities in diagnosis and treatment, fewer studies have examined how African Americans experience MS and its effects on their lives. The study explored the experiences of African American women with MS to inform future research and practice. what they have been finding within the Black community as it relates to multiple sclerosis, that a lot of people who are diagnosed with it have a more aggressive disease process than other people that have been studied. And so, this is even more of a reason why it's important for us to be very diligent about being advocates for ourselves as it relates to our health and how we are taken care of in the healthcare world. This actual article, I loved it because it talks about that. It talks about the idea of how these women that were a part of this study shared things about, you know, how doctors were not really taking it serious or believed that they had MS. And so I'm gonna read a few things here from it. And like I said, I'll share this in the show notes too, so you can have it to look at the article. So here it says many felt, and these are the women that were in this study, many felt that their diagnosis was delayed because doctors initially believed they had other more common diseases in blacks. So meaning other diseases that you would see prevalent in black people. So these conditions included lupus, sickle cell disease, arthritis, fatigue, stress, Parkinson's disease, and stroke. As one woman said, "I went through so much hell to be diagnosed with this. You're testing me for all the things that are black diseases." And I thought that was really interesting because, even beyond MS, you wonder about other health issues within the black community, and you think about, like, okay, if this is happening with multiple sclerosis, what other issues in the black community are happening where there's misdiagnoses or someone's brushing the person off because they don't think that they would actually be someone that would have that particular disease or that would need that certain treatment or whatever. Being someone who works in the healthcare field, I can attest to seeing how the disparities among Black people, how that has been an issue. Even with me just being in the workspaces, I would experience seeing patients, being brushed off, not getting proper care. And, it's disheartening. Even myself, let me tell you this story. When I was actually going through my first, well, actually, the initial issue that took place where I had to go to the hospital to then find out I had MS, the right side of my face, it felt like, um, it was like a lot of pain, right? And it was radiating down my shoulder. Or was it? No, no, I'm sorry. It was the left side. Excuse me, guys. It was the left side of my face. Pain was radiating down and went down to my shoulder. And I'm instantly thinking, oh my gosh, here it is. I'm having a heart attack, like whatever, right? I mean, not whatever, but you know what I'm saying? Oh, I'm having these symptoms. I say to my mom, 'cause I was living at home in Evansville, Indiana at the time. I said, I'm just going to go to the doctor. I'm going to go to the ER because I was working at that hospital, not at that particular campus, but I was working for the hospital system. So I'm going to go to the hospital and I'm going to get checked out because I'm having pain, like really bad pain. And I need to know what's going on. I get there. I'm waiting. I'm waiting. I'm waiting. And I'm in excruciating pain, right? No one comes to help me. I like go to the nurse's station, walk up there, like barely walking up there, like barely. And I was like, okay, I need someone to help me. Like, please, like I'm in so much pain. And I was just getting brushed off because, even though I worked for the hospital system, everyone doesn't ever know everyone. It's just what it is. And so I was just the nurse kind of brushed me off. I walk back to my room and I'm just like, this is crazy. Like, what can I do? Like, I need someone to help me. Like this, like what is happening? And I just so happened to have my badge. And I went back to the nurse's station and I showed her my badge. And I was like, listen, I work for you guys. Please. It's sad that I have to do this, but I need someone to come in here and help me. Like, this is ridiculous. Long story short, that happens. And then full speed ahead, things start moving, right? Got the MRI that night. They managed my pain as best as they could. And once the imaging came back, the doctor came in and shared with me, he says, "It looks like you have MS." based on all the markers from the MRI and your symptoms and this, that, and the other. And then, he went through a whole spiel like you need to have a spinal tap to determine if your spinal fluid has the proteins that are present to determine MS as well. So they're giving me all this information, right? And it's just like, woo, like I'm just like in a whirlwind, right? And so get that information and then, everything's just started happening, right? So all that to say, you know, that happened, so kinda like went on a tangent, but at the same time, it was a thing of like, I found out, that basically I had MS that night, but at the same time at the same time, the treatment that I received was not the best. And if I wouldn't have gone up to that nurse's station with my badge, who knows how long I would have been in that room in pain, like, who knows? Who knows what would have happened, right? So all that to say, the misdiagnosis, the brushing off, the ill treatment of Black people in healthcare is something that is being studied, like especially particularly with pain management. So I could go on and on, y'all. You know me, I can get on that soapbox of like what the healthcare system looks like as it relates to the care of Black people. But so yeah, so I really appreciated that piece of this study, how the woman shared that hey, you know you think that I'm just a person that's only going to get these certain diseases. No, there are other things and other issues that could happen in my body. Don't just limit me or box me into something that you, off your limited scope, would think that only I would be able to get because I am a Black person. And another thing that I really loved about this article was how raw and open these women were. They shared that they were, some of them were angry. They talked about how it was hard to function with MS. And the processing speed, and that's something that I deal with. I was like, wow, it was just it's so beautiful to just hear these things and read these things and know that, oh my gosh, I'm not on this island alone. There are people who also are experiencing this, and they're Black women, right? And the cognitive challenges, which is some of the things that I struggle with, things that I mean, and I'm pretty good with all my symptoms overall. But I love that she said, when specifically asked about cognitive challenges related to MS, many mentioned memory concerns as well as problems with attention and concentration, numeracy, and processing speed. So I just can't focus, not able to think like I used to think. To function with these symptoms, participants included avoiding multitasking, following a routine, and being very organized, and using written and phone reminders. And, a lot of times you wanna think, "Oh, I chalk it up to, I'm getting older," right? Or, you know, "I've got so many things going on, I just can't focus." No, these are actual symptoms of multiple sclerosis, and it can be on a more extreme level than what we traditionally think, or "I'm not able to focus" type of approach. It's to the point where your brain's it feels almost like you're in a spiral. Like you're on like a Ferris wheel, and it's like you just can't stop and like focus on one thing. It's just spinning, spinning, spinning. So, at least for me, that's how it feels sometimes. And so to hear and read, basically just to read this, it was just so wonderful to know that, like I said, because like I said in the beginning, I felt initially like I was just on an island when I was first diagnosed, and that, like I said, that these one-offs of people that had it, it's like, oh, that okay, that's just them, but now that we're seeing that there's more Black women with this actual diagnosis, it's so important to actually find the right neurologist that can help you during this process, and then also, have a good spirit. In this actual article talks about that as well. Just basically taking care of yourself and then having that positive mindset, so important. So important. And for me, I felt like initially when I was diagnosed that and so many women will tell you this, or people in general who have MS, initially it feels like a death sentence. And it's like, my life is not going to flourish in the way that I thought. Everything's going to change. And everything I thought that I was going to be able to do, I'm not going to be able to do. And, to some degree, some of those things can happen. I'm finding that with my approach to managing my MS, I'm still able to do all the things that I want to do. I have to take, some breaks here and there, but very rare, which is why I took the break with the episode from last week, because I knew if I just kept pushing myself, I was going to, just go a little overboard and I needed to take care of myself. And so I think that's even just important for people in general, beyond just MS, pushing yourself beyond limits sometimes is just not good. Sometimes we need a break. And so that's one thing I will say, being diagnosed with MS for me has been a thing where I've been really trying to be as in tune with my body as possible and know when to stop, know when I can give a little extra, and just be okay with what is going on with me at that time, and know that at it things are temporary. Not everything is going to be, I can't do this anymore, or it could just be a thing of like, okay, today we need to just relax, Alicia. We don't need to go above and beyond, and maybe tomorrow we can do all these things and get it all in place. Like, pace yourself, because I'm not a pacer. I'm 0 to 1,000. It's either one or the other a lot of times. And so I've learned to be better at that and try to find a happy medium just so I'm not overworking myself. One thing that I found that was really beautiful, another thing I should say that I found was really beautiful in this article, was that these women, a lot of them talked about their relationship with God and prayer, and that, like I said, the positivity components of, managing and navigating this diagnosis. And several women, like I said, they mentioned that prayer has been the thing that has gotten them through a lot of the feelings of, despair, and, just thinking that, everything is going to be just going downhill from, since the diagnosis. It's more of, being prayerful, like I said, and also having that positive outlook on, how things will turn out in life. And so even if you have this diagnosis, it is not a thing where you're just completely desolate, right? You can actually find some positivity, and even if you don't believe in God, it's really creating a positive outlook on your circumstances and situation. It was really, really beautiful. I was looking for, here it is. It was actually uh, a quote that they got from one of the women, and she says, "I believe in the power of God and prayer and everything, because there's some days when that's all you can do is just get on your knees and pray. I believe in God, and I know that God does not want anything ill for me. Maybe he gave me MS so that I can give other people the opportunity to help me. God gives me strength. Nothing is in our control. And he's teaching me that I'm not in control." And I love that. I loved those quotes, because actually those were just different quotes um, from the women there. But I love that, is that he's teaching me that I'm not in control, and well, that nothing's in our control, and that basically we have to just allow things to work out the way they're going to work out, and know that what we can control is how we respond to things, and do our best to be as healthy as possible. Another thing I want to talk about, and they talk about this a little bit in this actual study as well, the lack of representation in MS trial studies. So, MS trial studies are basically research study projects where they're studying certain aspects of MS, because every trial has a different approach to why they're studying whatever as it relates to MS. But the lack of representation from African American women is something that they mention in this, and it is true, which leads to why so many people, when Black women and African American women, um, you know, were coming up with this diagnosis, it was kind of like, what? Like, we rarely see this, right? Or we didn't know this was even possible, right? And it's so important that we start becoming a part of those trials, because it'll allow healthcare providers more information as to how to approach the care for African American women, because of the aggressive progression of MS in many of African American women that they're seeing in the clinical setting. I just recently did a trial. I did a trial that focused on perimenopausal women that were diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. And that information will come out later. I wanted to do that because I thought, you know what? I need to be someone, because I'm such an advocate for helping people with MS And like I said, I'm a health coach that does this type of work. So why wouldn't I be a part of these trials? I have the diagnosis. I can be of service to not only myself but to others out there that are dealing with MS and not having the right care being provided because there's so little research that's out there as it relates to African American women and the niche of the African American perimenopausal woman as well. So whatever I can do, I want to be of service as it relates to multiple sclerosis because I know when I was first diagnosed, I was literally felt like I was on a raft. There was hardly any information that was out there, and you know like I said, when I was still in nursing school, so I was just trying to survive. I was just trying to make sure I graduated nursing school, that I could get myself out of poverty, that I didn't have to worry about, just stressing about my financial situation all the time, and also dealing with this actual diagnosis. So know that it's possible that we can find ways to get care that we need. It's not easy. I've been through several neurologists. My first neurologist, to be honest, fired me because I wouldn't take the medication that was offered at the time for multiple sclerosis. And they felt like, well, if you're not going to do that, then what's the point of you being in my care? I mean, and everyone has their thing, whatever. But here I am still, you know, living and breathing and doing all the things. But yeah, it can be really difficult to find a provider that is going to one understand multiple sclerosis, even though they're a neurologist, they might not have the expertise as it relates to multiple sclerosis. So you definitely, if you are in the process of looking for a healthcare provider, a neurologist rather, that is, you know, one, open-minded about your approach to how you manage your care. Obviously, they're going to guide you through it, but also has a really sound understanding of what multiple sclerosis looks like. It is key because, like I said, not every person, even though like they're into neurology is a huge umbrella that contains so many different things. If they don't have that knowledge, it's honestly a waste of time for you to be working with someone who doesn't have that expertise. So, like I said, that can be a little tedious, but you want to ensure that you are advocating for yourself and you find the right provider for you so you can get the optimal care on this MS journey. I pray that we will continue to find ways to raise awareness around the black women's experience, that especially black women that are dealing with multiple sclerosis. It's hard. I will just say that it's a rough road, but it is doable, and I feel like there's so many people out there that just want to know that somebody hears them, sees them, understands what they're going through. Like I said at the start of this, there's so many people that have reached out to me that are just like, thank you, thank you, thank you for what you're doing. And it's overwhelming to a degree because it's like, wow, all this time I thought it was just me that was out here. And I was just putting all the pieces together for myself. I mean, luckily I'm in healthcare and I could understand and how to manage and navigate my life. But for those of us who aren't and that are just relying on healthcare providers to give them adequate information and, proper care, it can be beyond overwhelming. I can't even imagine. And so my hope is to continue to raise awareness around MS and for Black women that are diagnosed with MS to find, like I said, the right healthcare providers and to find the right community that works with them to ensure that they are living in an optimal way where they're able to, function in the way that works best for them. And I have my community. I love my community. And if you want more information about my community, actually, I will share my link to my free guide that will then link you to my community that's on Facebook. It's a beautiful community. It's super supportive. And, what we want to do is to continue to raise awareness around helping those with MS. My community focuses a lot on increasing energy levels. Fatigue is one of the major symptoms that people with MS experience. And I know for me, that was a huge one. And I know from there, me increasing my energy levels led to other things, which actually then exacerbated other symptoms that I was experiencing. So it started with the energy, increasing my energy levels, because if I could do that, then I knew I could do other things to help on this actual journey that I've been experiencing. And like I said, it's been since 2010. No medication. I take supplements. I've gone vegan. Not saying everyone needs to go vegan, but I really try to, be mindful of what I eat and not eat too much processed food and things of that nature. And let's be serious, I'm not perfect at it. Every day is, we're getting better and better at this, but I have the tools and the skills to manage and deal with my actual situation. And like I said, it's been a beautiful experience so far dealing with, I should say, well, yeah, dealing with this disease in a way that, is non-traditional, and it's not for everyone. And I encourage those who are following me and that are working with me. That's something I encourage. If you are working with me as a client, you know, speak with your doctor about what we're doing. Make sure you consult your doctor before you even work with me. Let's start there and make sure that what we're doing is actually compatible with your actual care plan of care at that time with your neurologist. I love you guys. And this is a very sensitive subject for me because it's so personal. So, I'm probably like feeling like I don't know how I sound, but I feel kind of like a little overwhelmed and all over the place with it because I know my journey it's been a lot. And um I just want to help as many people as possible that are in the same position that I'm in, or that I was in rather. Because to feel like everything that you've ever wanted in life could just stop, like, boom, it's over. It's a lot. It's a lot to take in. But I will say that there's hope. There's hope. And I can't say everyone is a journey is gonna be like mine. Everyone has their own journey. But I do feel like as we journey on with this disease, we can be a support to one another. So, like I said, I will share my information, my free guide to helping those with MS increase their energy levels. I'll share that in the show notes. It's called Empowered Energy. I'm really excited for, you all that want to join the MS community. Even if you don't have MS and you just want to be a part of our community, definitely sign up to be on the email list. It would be just wonderful for you to share it with people that you do know that have MS that are looking for a community. Definitely share it with them as well. Share this actual episode with them. I think that would be helpful as well. Yeah. I love you guys and thank you for, coming back to the podcast each and every week. Like I said, this is a really special month for me and for many people who are either dealing with MS personally or have someone in their life that is managing this actual disease each and every day. So thank you. And, like I always say, y'all, let's just keep on keeping on. And I'll see y'all next week. All right. I love you. Bye.